World was asking if he could be in chat with us. He just wanted to talk.
That'd be cool, but he needs to roll, and you can't be commenting on a match that you're a part of.
Yeah, he could leave chat for the match himself. We've done it before.
That's true.
Casters have been in game.
I did that last time. Plus, I mean, you've been looking for a third caster.
I don't know.
Just make sure the static isn't too bad, right?
It's, pretty bad. It's louder than us.
You might be able to counteract the static by turning up our user volume in your Discord.
I don't think the static is from Discord, I think it's from some recording equipment.
Probably, but I meant if he could make us louder in his client than the static, then it wouldn't be as big of an issue. It might hurt his ears, however.
Normally I'd say yeah, but I mean the static is so loud already, I feel like that's not necessarily the best solution.
Well, Saris just muted himself, so who knows? Maybe that's the answer.
Looks like he fixed it.
By muting himself.
Maybe the recording is picking up his microphone the entire time, rather than Discord's on or off toggle.
By having the threshold too low?
Speaking of which, Piraeus is actually kind of quiet on the recording.
You could turn me up to 200%.
Yeah, I've been on 150.
I can also get my face closer to my laptop. Yeah, Salofs is saying in the tournament chat, having the screen up might allow you to spy on the other ship, but honestly, since we have no way of stopping you being able to do that, you can if you want to, some kind of 200 IQ dual monitor setup, but honestly, it'll be a waste of time on your part because you need every second to build your own ship.
Well, and that's the thing, is the only thing that you get an advantage on from listening to the stream is really our commentary. It only takes a few seconds to go look at the other person and see what they're doing.
Are we going to allow Orb into the host chat while he's not in his match? Just need to
Might
give him the
still
role, and he can hop into the channel with us. Ping Bubbit.
well, but Walt's AFK.
Somebody disliked the stream. Funny.
Let's just assume it's a misclick.
Maybe a criticism of this, the static. The password is in tournament announcements, Danwood. Once the weapons are decided, Saris, just post them into game chat. You already have done that. Ions and EMP missiles. That's an interesting combination. All other parts are allowed, right? Which is to say, engine rooms, shields, armor, so on and so forth.
Yes, but and if I remember correctly, you also can't use flak or point defense.
Flak is considered one of the uncommon weapons, correct? All right,
Take
then.
the left one.
I will take the right. The timer starts at your call, Sarah. Okay.
Just to double check, prisms are still allowed, correct?
Prisms being part of beams, yes.
That might make
That
some
would
of these
definitely
designs a little difficult.
that would definitely harken back to ye olden days of ion beams being, well, the original spinal weapon from before when railguns were added. So currently I am watching Danwood build a series of prisms in a line, actually. So an inefficient building method, actually. It's not a binary tree, and the ions are fueled by small reactors. So definitely won't be having power problems.
Yeah, something similar is going on here. Looks like he's started with an 8-ion core, and he has 2 large reactors already.
Does Mr. Respect have a binary tree going on? Really?
You are very staticky. So Mr. Respect has started working on his first thruster modules. Doesn't have any side thrust at the moment.
How do I sound now?
You're still staticky. See, that's what happens when it's not an official tournament, just everything goes wrong. Oh, but once they start half an hour late, everything else is fine. That's how all official tournaments work. Alright, so Mr. Respect has started adding armor and shielding, but he's pretty much hit his budget at this point. He needs to be careful not to go over. He might end up needing to cut costs.
How do I sound now? Alright, I might occasionally need to jump in and out of Discord in order to clear the static. Anyways, let me peek back in on how these two players are doing.
Alright, so Mr. Respect has his ship. Looks like he's done. He's got 8 ions. He still needs to link his prisms, though. Couple shields, but no crew access. And, alright, he has edited his design. Now the shields have power.
It appears that time is up, that Saris has stopped the time. So, ooh, this is not a very good match, it seems, because Mr. Respect has more or less a complete ship, but the armor is a little thin on the nose, whereas Danwood still had parts that were not connected to the main body, so there is no command center or command room on his ship.
So really, all Mr. Respect has to do with this matchup is just get to the side.
The Shade was right in the early part of the tournament chat that unless you practice, you'll end up with a ship without a command room.
I mean, I suppose in this case you have to. Just nobody abuse illegal ships or we will disqualify. Looks like he's mostly done with that though. Does have one prism that's not aiming correctly, but it still works. Alright, so Mr. Respect is simply moving to the side. He's going to approach Danwood from the side, and there's not going to be much he can do about it. Well, I think part of the challenge is you have to build it quickly.
See, oftentimes, when you first start building, 500k feels like a lot, but then you add enough weapon systems for a 750k ship and realize you don't have enough armor, propulsion, so on and so forth. It's all about getting used to tempering your expectations.
Well, are you required to use weapons?
There was an attempt to use EMP, it's just that the launchers were not properly configured or connected to the EMP factory. I don't think that's grounds for disqualification.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't use actual missile factories, he should be fine. Alright, good game.
It was a good first attempt for players who had never done this kind of tournament before. Nothing to be ashamed of at all, Danwood. And good work, Mr. Respect.
So the next match is Pinecone versus Cool Roku.
Now, Cool Roku is an old player. Haven't seen him around for a long time. I say old. He was around for a while. He's actually quite young. I think he's younger even than Polar Bear.
However, he hasn't been actively involved in the community for a pretty long time. So with this weapon combination, EMPs are going to be a lot more important because lasers are very susceptible to EMPs.
Yeah, you can't bury them inside the ship like you can with ion prisms. They won't be protected by armor.
So I think the best design you could go for here is a laser triangle, one of the ones where the lasers are protected by armor. Yet that's going to make the ships pretty slow and rather inefficient.
Yeah, to clarify for Pine Cool Roku, don't go using large lasers now. Just like this. All right. Pine requested a countdown, so just start from 5 in the chat, I would say. Huh, all right then. No count. Let's just go.
Alright, so Pine is starting with a big wall of lasers and shields.
And
And
track. That's a bold move, especially for a 500k ship.
yeah, it's going to be interesting seeing how he's going to arrange his budget.
Meanwhile, Cool Rocco has foregone the use of the blueprint mode, so his ship will be clearly visible to the entire world. Um, and it's his traditionally very blocky style. We could call it that. Well, I don't think Cool Rocco actually played the game, or at least he didn't participate in any tournaments before different sizes of reactors were added. So he might be used to small reactors. The large reactors can actually be easily attacked from an angle instead of just from straight ahead.
Alright, so Pine is getting his ship together. He has a couple thruster modules, though they're exposed. Might need to be careful with that.
A very classic thruster configuration over there for Pine, the engine room with standard and large thrusters.
To be
Well,
fair, if the reactor blows up, the ship is dead anyway.
yeah, I was about to say.
Hey, and he added armor. I was about to suggest that. Looks like Pine has forgotten to add some corridors in the middle that might hurt his crew access. Oh, no, he fixed it.
He was in the blueprint mode.
Ah,
Rocco is apparently missing a door that is preventing his engines from being completely powered up, and he has EMP missiles added now.
right. So
Very true, but he's missing just the one single door.
at this point,
I would call this very undercrewed on Rocco's side.
agreed.
1 minute remaining. Do we have a count for 30 seconds? I was wondering if and when we would see something like this, the EMP missile tax, or just the weapon tax, where a ship would be mostly built to cater towards one of its weapon types, but then would just include a single instance of the other weapon type to not be disqualified. Rocco is mostly interested in the lasers here.
Yeah. Looks like he's focusing mostly on offense, kind of like a gate crash, whereas Pine is more focusing on a well-rounded ship.
All right, the time is up, and
Oh, and I think Cool Roku is just... Oh, no, never mind.
not disqualified.
For a second there, he was above the budget.
Tractor
I think
beams are
it'll...
definitely old inclusion here because Cool Rocco definitely has more small lasers than Pine's ship does.
Well, but at the same time, Cool Roku, especially with the amount of thrust that both of these ships have, is going to be very susceptible to tractor beams from the side. He'll have trouble keeping his front towards Pine.
That's very true, actually. The tractor beams might be the winning inclusion here, because if that armor block is not pointed directly at Pine, like you said, not only will a lot of Cool Rocco's weapons be blocked by his own armor, but his large reactor will be exposed. Sorry about the mic. Was what I was saying audible at all?
Yeah. Don't be too upset. Technical issues are inevitable.
Especially in tier tournaments.
Looks like it's just
Crew
crew being weird.
How did that happen?
Very quickly.
No one operating command room. You need to fix your priorities really quick.
You might be in trouble here. I'm not sure you can actually change priorities if the control room is offline. Yeah, the EMPs countering lasers really showing there. Just 2 EMPs completely fried the right side. However, it looks like Pine will not be getting his control room up in time, and his own tractor beams are pushing him out of the arena.
Ooh, no. This is quite odd because you were saying? Yeah, this
I think
is
he,
quite odd because default crew priorities should allow for the control room and the engine room, for that matter, to all be crewed. So, I'm not sure what's
I think he
happening
was
here.
messing with his crew roles and or priorities, and just didn't finish it in time.
That's very risky,
Yeah, pretty
as we can see.
unfortunate issue. Alright, so Cool Roku wins that match.
Congratulations, yes.
Next match we have Koro against Psy.co. I mean, he settles on a name, he just changes it.
Yeah, Pine just said in the tournament chat that he got too greedy. I suspect he was trying to make his crew more efficient, but when you only have 5 minutes, that's really, really low on the priority list, I would say, or at least it should be.
Yeah, with such a small time limit, I think it's best to just risk overcrewing and have a little inefficiency. The sad thing is I think he had plenty of crew anyways, so he would have been better off not trying to mess with rules.
Nug, please stay ready so that Saris can go when he's ready.
To be fair, I think the background will be more at risk of a seizure than that tiny little text changing. You haven't determined the weapons. Oh, I'm blind.
EMPs again? The
Sounds
random number
rigged.
generator really likes EMPs. There are a number of uncommon weapons too. I'm kind of really hope there's something else for the next match, just so that we can see something different structurally.
I do suspect both players here are just going to add a single EMP, maybe even not add a factory, because the only thing that an EMP will do against cannons is knock out the shields.
Shields are very important to prevent cannon penetration. Also, Nug, the weapons are large cannons and EMP missiles.
I think this is
It
going to be a
looks
pretty interesting match because large cannons are so slow and inaccurate that thrust is going to be really important. With the previous designs, we've just seen some basic forward and backward thrust, but here strafe might be really useful.
Nug is on the right, right? He he has already added a total of 10 large cannons, which will be very ammo hungry, all powered by a single medium reactor. I imagine more shields will be added soon. He's gone quite wide already. It's going to be I dare even say a classic cannon chip from ye olden days of cannon avoiders.
Alright, so Sly.co is he started with a simple medium reactor in the middle, and it's going to be powering a couple EMP missiles, and he's starting to build cannons on the sides, shielded. Yeah, forward-facing launchers are rather unusual. You might have a little trouble with crew access, though.
Forward facing EMP missiles can potentially be devastating because it's very unlikely that they will swoop around a target and not hit forward facing shields.
Yeah. The advantage of front-facing missile launchers of any type is they're much more accurate. The downside is they take up the surface area on the front of your ship, and that's really valuable, especially in a match like this.
For anyone who can look over at Nug's ship right now, this shape might be immediately familiar to you. It definitely looks like one of the classic cannon ships that we see in other tournaments.
There were some fire extinguishers in the previous match.
It appears that in Psycho's own personal game settings, he does not have doors being automatically added. He will have to do that manually in order to allow his crew to access his own ship.
Again, though, it might be simpler to just door all.
Normally it's somewhat tedious in normal creative mode to have to fix where the game puts all the doors. But in this case, speed is of the essence.
Yeah. Psycho does need to be careful. His ship is looking mostly complete, but he's very under budget. He still has 150K to go.
With only It's well made for now, but it's only 4 large cannons to match Nug's 10. That's way less firepower, even with the EMP missiles having a clearer line of sight.
Looks like he's speedily adding more cannons on the sides.
Outside of his armor, this is going to be a close one, especially with all the doors still needing to be added. 1 minute remaining. I would start adding doors.
Oh, you might have not been around. There was an update that added a feature where you can hold control and click on a door and it adds every available door.
That's that seems excessive.
It's excessive, but it can be handy in a situation like this.
Psycho now is he's just clicking and dragging, putting doors everywhere. I would just put that button input, man. You have enough budget.
That's unfortunate. He missed the door connecting to his rightmost cannons.
What again was that button input? Did that put doors everywhere? Z, did you say?
Just hold control and place a door.
Oh, control door. Okay. Yes, a pandemic during Corona, or a tournament during Corona pandemic times. Let this be as anxiety producing as ever. I agree. All right, so it looks like Nug basically included an EMP missile tax and made his ship primarily about cannons, with a total of 4 shields. On the other hand, Psycho's ship is has 6 shields, but only 6 cannons that are accessible to his. Wait, no, yeah, 6 cannons that are accessible to his crew. So, hmm, those 2 extra shields are going to have to put in a lot of work. Oh yeah, point defense is included in as a weapon type. So
I suppose if he powers them off, then we could still have the match.
yeah, just turn them off. They can't if they let off a shot. That's bad. All right, the PDs have been turned off. The game can now commence, and this will hopefully be a more even match than the last two. You say that so harshly. Oh dear. Well, it's true. Oh, it appears that Psycho's ship is not only missing a wing, but also one of its more centermost pairs of cannons. There's no door between the factory and the actual cannons themselves. All right,
Yeah.
so a lesson to the viewers: if you're in one of these tournaments and running out of time, control door.
Right, so the first shots have been fired.
Those forward facing EMPs aiming true, taking out most of Nug's shields. Let's see how the cannons fare. A lot more firepower on Nug's side.
And those first couple cannon volleys. Oh, they actually sniped the control room.
Sniped it from directly behind the medium reactor. Oh, that's right, because there was no armor in front of the control room. There was just the EMP missile launcher.
That was a
Brutal and
really lucky
quick.
shot.
Yeah, especially for large cannons, they're very inaccurate rounds, so lucky indeed. Eno Shade and Orb. Jeez, it has been ages since I have seen Orb actually play Cosmoteer. Back during the laser triangle meta.
Right, so what are our weapons for this match? You said you'd re-roll it.
Large lasers and point defense. Ooh, that's an interesting mix. Can PDs actually shoot at large lasers?
And no, they cannot. The only advantage of point defense is going to be kind of, well, as a weapon. But, but point defense is so bad against shields, I suspect neither ship will really be using them as a central weapon or defense. Well, but I don't think either the ships will have enough agility to avoid properly. There's simply not enough time.
It attacks. Well, since these are going to be large laser ships without being able to use either EMP missiles or electro bolts, then it's just going to be a slugfest to see who can get through the other ship's shields first. Then, which I'm looking forward to.
So probably what we'll be seeing here is a couple more walls. Just lots of lasers, lots of shields. Heavy lasers are notably harder to shield than the normal ones.
Well, it appears that Orb and Inoshade might be working on the same ship. Wait, let's restart.
Take two.
All right, all right, they're on the right ships. Restart the timer. Let's go. It's a slight misunderstanding right there, but no biggie.
All right, so we are ready again. I guess I'll do a countdown. Or that works too.
Or Saris will say go. Yes, this also works.
It looks like Orb did paste a bit back in. I'm not sure if that's allowed or not.
Yeah, it's fine. The match is already should be underway anyways. Just a note to both players: doors as you go, and don't forget a control. Yeah, apparently Cool Roku actually entered him into the tournament without his knowledge. So the fact that he showed up at all is good sportsmanship, I would say.
Agreed. Looks like Inoshade is starting with a medium reactor powering a bunch of lasers and shields. Not sure if he's going to make it symmetrical. I hope so for the sake of perfectionism.
This is wrestling my jimmies. I can't watch Eno Shade. It's very asymmetrical. I don't
Looks
think
like,
there's really a big advantage to leaving it out to putting it in blueprint mode rather than out.
well, the advantage of blueprint mode is you can place parts illegally and then fix them later.
True.
Looks
Plus,
like
there is
Inoshade
one.
is... Ooh, he's building a triangle.
Oh, this explains the asymmetry, and this is very interesting.
As long
Well,
as
not standard
Inoshade...
nowadays on a. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I keep stepping on you. Go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say not standard nowadays with the use of small reactors, like you were saying. Most players like using medium reactors, but I would argue there's still a case to be made for small reactors because when one goes down, as in one reactor, you won't immediately lose your whole ship. It still allows for a certain level of decentralization.
Alright, so based on the matchup alone, the triangle, as long as it's built correctly, should be able to win.
Only 2 minutes remaining. Make sure to add some thrusters onto your ship, Orb. Excuse me, that was very rude. But also, Enoshade has been practicing for this by giving himself 5 minute timers and then building random ships, which is a lot of commitment to a tournament like this.
And I do think it's giving him an advantage. It looks like he has a pretty solid ship at this point. Could use a little more armor, but otherwise it's good.
Yeah, that kind of you're right. That kind of thruster configuration, especially for a triangle, it it makes it hard to turn and impossible to reverse. Though I imagine he's listening in on us, so he did just add a pair of reverse thrusters. Orb
Looks
has
like
about 100k left. It would benefit him to start adding a lot more armor and maybe even crew, just to make sure that everything is nice and efficient.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that. Huge thrusters, though they have better power overall. Oh, Enoshade, you're over budget. Careful. Even though huge thrusters have better power overall, they take so long to ramp up that they can be really inefficient. They both are.
Give him an extra 30 seconds to just take things away, because disqualifying them both here would be silly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys need to get under the 500k budget.
Alright. They are both under budget now.
All right. Fixed it just in time. And all right. We are going to have a very interesting match. Oh, and Orb immediately turns to attack.
No, that
No,
was
not
me. I
quite.
misclicked.
Oh, I see. So
Apologies.
this is actually going to be an interesting match, a wall versus a triangle, and they have similar number of weapons. It's really going to come down to piloting skill. I trampled over you. Go ahead.
No, I trampled over you. Well, based off of sheer firepower, they're about the same. Enoshade, he'll be slower, but he can probably turn better. He'll be more responsive. And simply because he's a triangle, he'll have better defense overall.
No one.
Right, so Enoshade did not actually change his flight direction, but that's something he can fix mid-battle.
Oh, Shade forgot to change flight direction, but luckily that's the kind of thing that can be changed in the middle of a match.
Alright, so Orb has started the attack.
This
Really
is
showing
probably
off.
yeah, sorry, really showing off.
really showing off how long it takes for the huge thrusters to power up.
Yes.
Shade showing off how quickly he can turn.
This is probably going to be the most even match we've had so far. But oh, yeah, that's right.
Well, just
Well,
ignore that.
it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Oh, actually, Eno Shade does have one PD on the side, which kind of shows that's not really what people are building for, not what people are looking for.
Alright, so Orb is kind of avoiding. Both ships have taken a few hits here and there, but nothing substantial yet.
No, no, they have an equal number of weapons. Like
Looks like
Redstone said, Enoshade's ship is adept at turning from side to side, which is quite ideal for how his ship is constructed. Oh, but he lost a medium reactor and split.
both ships have now split. That makes things interesting.
Yes, indeed. Unfortunately, one of Orb's fragments, which could have still moved on its own, was it had its control room destroyed. Yeah, yeah.
And he
Orb
snipes the control
wins.
room. Good game. Gonna be honest, that
Congratulations.
did not go how I expected it to.
Yeah, 90% destruction.
It's not 90% destruction. Because the control room died, that entire segment is considered dead, and that was the only living part left.
Not true, actually. The other part of Enoshade's ship that was towards the north of the arena still had a control room, and it was still alive.
Oh, it did?
Um, Enoshade's ship was split in two. The smaller fragment still had a control room inside of it, but
Uh,
it,
I looked and it didn't have one, but whatever. Orb wins either way.
yeah, very surprising and very cool. I honestly thought that Enoshade's ship would be the stronger of the two because it could turn from side to side and regenerate its shields while the damage side was turned away from Orb's ship.
I do feel
But
he kind of oversteered a little because though it gave his shields time to recharge, it also made it so that he could only fire 6 of his 12 lasers at once.
true, true. So Orb was able to turn his weapons, all of his weapons, against the laser triangle at once.
Alright, so as is, I guess, visible at this point, this next match is Ant versus KWH. I'm not going to pronounce that. Now that's an interesting combination.
Small cannons and nukes. Oh man, that is going to be fascinating. Especially since you are not allowed to use flak or PD to defend against the nukes.
Yet at the same time, nukes are very explosive, so it'll be interesting where they try to put the nukes. In fact, it might be a valid strategy just to put the launcher and factory down and not power them so they're not explosive.
That seems like a waste of a good missile to me, sir.
Well, but would you rather have a missile that'll fire once, maybe twice, or a safe ship?
That is an excellent question. But see, the fire that. Ah,
I'm not saying it's the right strategy, I'm just saying it is a strategy that is possible.
it is possible, yes.
It'll be interesting to see how the players approach this. Alright, so I think this is Ant. Their curses are basically the same color, so it's hard to tell. Yeah.
Ant is on the line. And he started straight off with adding a control room just to make sure he doesn't repeat earlier mistakes from other players.
It's pretty smart.
Oh, check this out. KWH has started with a nuke factory and launchers with shields behind them. He's going with front facing nukes.
Interesting decision. It'll certainly.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how this plays out.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
that's
a
just
couple
because we got EMPs, I think it's 3 times in a row.
Well, sometimes the combinations with like lasers and EMP missiles were good. Just not so with large cannons and EMPs.
Alright, so Ant has gotten his first little segment online. He has a single unshielded front-facing nuke. That's honestly pretty dangerous. His whole ship might chain react if he's not careful.
Definitely a bold move here. Slightly, it's only slightly, let's be real, however, it's only slightly less risky for KWH having a single layer of shields over his launchers.
Yet a single layer of shields will at least do something to protect them. Yeah, if Ant doesn't put armor between his launcher and factory, I do think his entire ship is going to chain react at once. Friendly reminder for anyone watching to stay hydrated.
Actually, that reminds me, I need to go get some water.
Well, there you go. Sincerest apologies. Right, Ant is adding wings with some extra cannons. He doesn't have very many crew at this point, though. He'll need to be careful. It's very heavily armored, though. He'll be pretty slow.
Okay, I'm back.
Welcome back.
How have things developed? So,
Which
it
makes sense
appears that
because, I mean, armor is a great counter to the nuke gate crash.
I like the armor that has been added around KWH's nuke set up in the front, it might make it more survivable. Whereas, ooh, Ant is going for a lot of armor on the sides of his ship. That's an interesting setup. And I would say he needs a lot more crew than he currently has.
For anyone For anyone watching that doesn't know what a gate crash is, that's a term that this community uses to reference basically a large amount of weapons firing at the very beginning of the battle that does a ton of damage, but not necessarily having enough reload to keep up.
Ah,
Indeed.
I've,
It
I've always
looks
just
like
heard that be recalled to as alpha striking, not gate crashing. Um,
so looks like Ant's ship has better firepower but less protection. And also Ant's ship is really cheap. He had a lot of extra budget he could have used there. Looks like he just didn't have time.
well, both players have almost equal numbers of actual weapons. Same number of small cannons. The KWH has one more nuke launcher. So maybe it'll come
However,
down to piloting.
I don't think it'll come down to piloting. Unfortunately, Ant doesn't really have much shielding, and especially that chain reaction that he didn't fix is gonna really hurt. So is that disqualification, or do we give him a chance?
Uh, to go back and 1,200, I would say. Or remove it yourself real quick. Oh, wait, that would require you leaving the match, leaving host. Never mind. So you'll load it into creative mode and trim it off a bit.
And I'm assuming Ant will not be able to tweak his design at this point. Alright. The cost difference is really showing there. KWH has a perfect 500k, whereas Ant's ship is 350k. Yeah. Looks like KWH needs to... Oh, he did fix his missiles. There you go.
I'm back. Someone came to the door. Match has started. You fixed up KWH's ship.
Alright, so Ant has started moving. None of his weapons or shields are online at this point.
Doesn't have a lot of crew to go around, and his small reactors are quite far from the rest of his ship. So it is going to take a while for him to power up completely.
Unfortunately, yeah, as Ant
Yeah,
said there, I do suspect as soon as that forward launcher gets hit, and it has no protection, he'll be dead.
KWH has not yet moved. Might be waiting for his ship to completely power.
And now he's
there he
moving.
is now.
He does only have a single medium reactor, so he's probably waiting for all of his engine rooms to fully power up.
And he's charging in straight at Ant. Oh, he's going to connect before Ant is completely powered up. Let's see how this shapes up.
Also, Ant needs to turn to face him. There he goes.
The
Alright,
nukes will be launching.
There's the nuke payload,
Alright.
and KWH is retreating.
Oh, a devastating strike from KWH first, taking out a whole bank of cannons.
Whereas Ant's single nuke simply bounced off of KWH's rather strong shielding.
And no chance of another firing from Ant. He already lost his launcher. The nukes might be coming out again soon from KWH to seal the deal.
Yeah. Ant was pretty lucky though. He fired his launcher at the perfect time so that there weren't actually any missile segments in it. If there were, he'd be dead by now. And there goes his control room.
Good game.
Good game indeed.
Yeah,
Excellent design by KWH.
Yes. Putting extra protection, investing in those shields, definitely paid off for him.
Alright, so the next match is Salif versus Bible-Tech.
Two familiar names from the Cosmoteer tournament scene, such as it is nowadays.
Based off of experience alone, Salif has the advantage. But I think Bible-Tech might have been practicing, I don't know. And as we've seen before, it can really go either way. It's more a matter of how well you can build quickly, not necessarily how well you can build if you have a bunch of time.
Familiar name, question mark? Yeah, I recognize both of you.
Yeah, both of you have been in at least 3 tournaments before. I think more like 4 or 5.
Bolters and rails. That's going to be an interesting mixture.
Alright, so the strategy is going to be interesting. Railguns are very difficult to protect because they're simply so fragile. They're also very large. So honestly, I think electrobolts might be helpful for these designs because they can take out the shields protecting railguns, so the only thing that'll protect them is armor.
Yeah, the way I see it, there are two broad archetypes that these two players could follow. One is using several small short-range rails to make more efficient use of the Electrobolter's short range because you'll be getting in close. The other one is to just have a one Electrobolter as attacks and then long rails so that you can kite.
Yeah. I'd say Salif is actually doing something more interesting. He has 2 tractor beams and 6 boost thrusters.
Oh man, so Salif might be going for the more meta TB Railfan that we saw last tournament during last month, whereas BibleTech is going for a rail broadsider of some sort, and that just it sounds very interesting. Oh, you're right. That chain reaction can be brutal. Spacing it out with even corridors would probably help that. Yeah,
Yeah, Salif looks like he's gonna end up over budget if he's not careful. Also, Rail Tractor Beam might be at a disadvantage because his opponent is also using railguns.
I might have expected a more balanced design from Bible Tech, or even something akin to a spinner. But this design just kind of confuses me. When you have something so front loaded with armor and back loaded with thrusters, usually you have the railguns going along the spine of the ship so you can fire straight ahead. But in this case, Lee will have to turn around in order to actually make his railguns fire onto the enemy, which will expose his reactor.
Yeah, he might have been better off just making a wall, having all of his weapons facing the same direction.
And
Looks
yet
like Salif
this is
is
the second time we've seen tractor beams now.
looks like he's gonna be
Sorry, Doctor, we keep interrupting you. Or not Doctor, Captain Redstone.
where did Doctor come from?
From Healing Doctor. I saw his name in chat and it was
Ah.
never mind.
Anyway, looks like Salif is gonna be pretty undercrewed if he's not careful. The tractor beams are very crew hungry. Also, he doesn't have any doors yet, and he's approaching his budget. He'll probably need to chop some armor off.
1 minute remaining. Salif, don't fall into the same trap that Psycho did.
Salif still doesn't have any. Okay, now he's placing doors, but he doesn't have much time. And he might end up
Control
being over
D, my
budget.
man. Control D.
Salif, you need to stop placing doors. And you're over budget now.
This is a very odd situation we have here because honestly, Bible Tech's ship is paper thin. It will die very quickly. But Salif's ship is vastly undercrewed and is lacking most of the doors it actually needs to function. So, yeah, just chop off a couple blocks of armor. Yeah. His blueprint, he pressed Control D, so he has doors everywhere. Just Salif, press Control Z to undo your Control D, and then yeah. Well, now there are doors everywhere.
Not sure what to do with this, really.
I
Yeah,
kind of want to. I kind of want to say that go back to the state where before Salif pressed Control D and added doors everywhere, and see how an underdoored ship goes up against an under armored ship.
unfortunately, as much as I hate to say it, I would actually agree with Saris. If he was simply over budget, that would be okay, but he was still placing doors even after the timer ran out.
Well, that is the nature of stream delay. He's listening to us for instruction, I'm guessing.
That's true. We should be typing in chat. Alright, so just needs to chop off a bit of armor and he's gonna be okay.
He's in blueprint mode. Yeah. So we have a very unusual ship from Bible Tech with an overambitious ship from Salif's.
Your microphone is dying again. Alright, we are ready to go.
From what I can tell, he has about 2 functional rails and 2 functional engine blocks out of the 4 of each.
Oh my goodness. Well, he doesn't even have 24, he only has 18 crew available. He'll definitely want to turn the tractor beams off or he'll simply never power up.
He might not need the tractor beams as well, because since the only way that Bible Tech will be able to actually damage him will be turning to the side, it will expose his large reactor by itself. Unless, wait, Bible Tech is going to do a drive-by. He's not actually going to sit still. This is actually, that's actually pretty smart. I didn't think of that.
He can turn just very slowly.
If
Well, if
Salif can line up a shot,
Oh, there's a railgun online. It's like Salif has turned his tractor beams back on. Interesting decision.
he might put them onto pull mode to try and keep Bible Tech from running by too quickly.
If it were me, I'd focus my power on the railguns to try to snipe a reactor. Yeah, looks like he is trying to keep Bible Tech still for a better shot. At this point, he's just firing railguns, he's not actually fanning properly.
Which is to say, instead of having the railguns on the fire at will mode, then you have them fire only when they're aiming at a designated target.
Yeah, it helps concentrate all the railguns in one specific place, and it also prevents them from missing. For the most part. Salif has started. He's actually pretty fast for only having 6 thrusters online. Is it approaching Bible Tech? Looks like Bible Tech is going to try to flee to the side. Salif nearly rams him. That was very close. The Ring of Death is shrinking really quickly, though. Bible Tech is going to have to be careful not to be caught outside of it. Salif might just camp at the middle.
Yeah, Bible Tech's own strategy might become his own downfall because the use of boost thrusters to make sure he can't get nailed down by Salif will put him outside the Ring of Death, and then his own boost thrusters will shut off. But it looks like Salif was actually able to get a couple of rounds into the ship of Bible Tech.
However, the second volley hit the shields.
The ship isn't dead yet, Bible Tech.
Salif is also going to have some trouble with the Ring of Death because he can't turn very well. Oh, that shot nearly destroyed Bible Tech's reactor.
That was very close, very, very close. He now has lost all of the weapons and shields on one side of his ship. Oh my goodness,
very
that
close.
was a near miss.
That reactor is at 10% health, by the way. Bible Tech trying to flee. But Salif misses his micro.
This is
Micro
now going
standing
to be
for micromanagement.
I think Bible Tech might be done. His ship is going to die first to the Ring of Death damage because of his reactor is only at 10% of its health.
Yeah, as long as Salif doesn't get hit particularly hard here, he should win.
I'm keeping an eye on the large reactor's health count. It hasn't moved from 404 yet.
It won't be moving very quickly since they're both very close to the center. Oh, and chain reaction.
The chain reaction that you were talking about. Yep, good game. That was a good showing from both players.
Indeed. Pretty solid designs, really. I think it
Yeah,
would have actually chain reacted normally, just the Ring of Death had damaged all of the parts, which makes explosions travel further.
Yes.
They have less to go through.
Yeah, it softened up all of the explosive parts. So, my apologies to Bible Tech for being so disparaging of your ship, not understanding the idea behind it until the game actually started.
Really,
But good game to Salif's.
The only thing I would have changed is put all the railguns on one side, just so you get more shots per volley. Who hasn't been active for like a year?
I haven't looked at the bracket, but has One Eye shown up yet in these matches? I don't remember. Was he given a bye in the bracket? I suppose it's fair enough that he gets a bye, considering how many tournament victories that One Eye has under his belt. Also, why is Cool Roku number 1 seed when he hasn't played in ages? Okay, all right, that's fair.
Missiles and mines. That is a very interesting combination.
Classic missile barges. I am so ready.
Okay, so this brings up a question. Since it's two types of missiles, are they allowed to switch between missiles and mines, or do they have to keep at least one launcher dedicated to each? But then you wouldn't have any missiles. You'd be disqualified. You're confusing me.
Just include, just follow the spirit of the game. Use mines and missiles.
That works. So Mr. Respect is starting with a large reactor and a tractor beam. Interesting.
Was Mr. Respect the one that used tractor beams on the first round? Oh, right.
Alright, so Mr. Respect has started with some forward-facing mines. Interesting decision. When I really showing off his proficiency with the game.
Who again was the guy who was lauded as the single best player in the whole game? His name started with a D. Dallas, that's right. I remember the very first tournament that I ever entered in, which was several years ago now. My first match ever was against Dallas. That went about as well as you could expect. But
Yeah, it's
yeah,
unfortunate. With a
tournaments can be
larger...
rough, but they're very rewarding to stick to them, I would say.
Yeah. One advantage with having tournaments with more players is it allows the host to kind of arrange them still somewhat randomly, but making sure there aren't any crazy matchups like this one.
At least in round one.
So Mr. Respect has started adding thrusters. Might have trouble with crew access, though. Needs to be careful with that. Yeah. Looks like Mr. Respect has an unnecessary amount of armor. It's probably going to slow him down.
There is no such thing as an unnecessary amount of armor. All armor is necessary.
I would beg to differ. One Eye is 100 over.
And it doesn't have any missile launchers.
Interesting that he's going for forward-facing mines and mainly forward thrust.
Oh, just take off a couple of armor blocks. Mr. Respect.
And there he goes.
It doesn't have a control room. Oof. Yeah, this...
Your mic is dying again.
So, my computer is actually a Mac, but I boot camped Windows onto it so that I could play Windows games, including Cosmoteer. But apparently, the boot camp interacts very strangely with Discord, so it screws up my mic.
That's unfortunate. I think the lesson to be learned here is just to stick with Mac anyway.
Oh, Salif pinged me. That was Pine. You pinged me that ages ago. Actually, Pine was the one that used TBs. All right, so both ships actually have roughly equal amounts of firepower. The big difference here is that Mr. Respect had to lose his side and back armor, in order to add a control room, so he is at greater danger of being flanked.
One Eye might be using an approach that was meta for a short while, where he'll get to close range, fire mines, and retreat, and use the tractor beams to pull Mr. Respect along with him. In theory, it is very effective because it forces the opponent into your mines, but in general, it's not very cost efficient.
It would appear that Mr. Respect forgot to change the settings on his launchers to actually configure them for mines, so he is currently sporting a total of 8 missile launchers. It, it'll be fine. Just need
So
he can switch them to mines right now, the 2 front launchers that are attached to the mine factories.
looks like One Eye is gonna kind of camp middle. Mr.
Well, One
Respect
Eye's
does have the range advantage here.
he does on account of having missile launchers, while One Eye does not.
It looks like that's what he's about to do. He's got a tractor beam lock, pulling him backwards. Another fun thing you can do with tractor beams. And we're about to see just how vicious mines are at close range.
At close range, they don't arm, so how can they be vicious?
They arm if they aren't moving. It's not a matter of range anymore.
I see, but I thought they just explode when they hit the hull of something, right? If even if they're not armed. One weakness of the design that One Eye has brought here is that he cannot launch mines while he is boosting forward very quickly, because the mines will simply explode on his own nose. He needs to be slowing down in order to actually launch the mines forward.
Looks like he's going for a second volley. He's deployed some mines, and he's attempting to pull Mr. Respect. But he doesn't get a good enough lock.
The decision by Respect to actually use HE missiles is giving him a big buffer of safety, because One Eye can't really approach him without getting hit by a lot of missiles. It's really really going to come down to One Eye's piloting skill.
It looks like that's what he's trying at this point. Taking advantage of the fact that Mr. Respect has poor turning and no side thrust.
The vulnerability of Mr. Respect's engines means that it's difficult for him to get back out from the ROD.
At this point, there's not really a good way for Mr. Respect to actually get within a safe distance of the Ring of Death without getting hit by mines. If I were
Yeah,
One Eye, I just auto-fire mines at this point. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that the safe zone has been mostly filled with mines, so too risky for Mr. Respect to approach now.
And there was the first example of tractor beams and mines having really good synergy when I pushed Mr. Respect into some of the other mines, which did a lot of damage.
All right, this is actually a rather unfortunate state for the game to be in right now. Because both players' large reactors have not taken direct damage from each other, they're going to be subject to Ring of Death damage, which basically means we're flipping coins to see, oh, well, if they don't win a Ring of Death race, probably.
As of right now, Mr. Respect is basically dead, whereas One Eye is still at half health.
Yeah, Respect just lost.
Oh no, he wins! Very unlucky.
Did a missile reach around, or did a missile reach around, or did One Eye's reactor actually lose to the Ring of Death?
I think it must have been a missile. Maybe it's a
Maybe
missile
the Ring
and
of
then the
Death
Ring of Death
softened it up
caught him
enough.
later.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, but I told you it'd be a coin flip. Ring of Death battles, they shake everything up. Yeah, good game. Impressive.
I'd certainly say that's a big upset.
It is, yeah.
And That is why you never give up.
Yes, normally a single missile is not enough to destroy a control room, but One Eye had still spent some time out in the Ring of Death, and that softened everything up. Yeah, we can all go to the bathroom, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think that's a smart decision. All right,
Put on the elevator music.
be right back. All right, I'm back. Saris, remember to fix the budget. Oh, I think all of us forgot to mention that last round was the beginning of the second set. Which is actually the quarterfinals because we don't have a lot of players.
I am back. Is anyone else returned? You're on a 5-minute break. Ah, I see it didn't take a total of 5 minutes.
So Piraeus, uh, what do you think
Yes.
is better, a competitive design or an aesthetic design? Where do you think the balance is there?
The balance completely depends upon what the ship is being built for. If the idea is to win, then I don't really care if the ship looks ugly as all hell. But if the goal is to look nice, then it doesn't even have to have any weapons, as far as I'm concerned.
Fair enough.
That being said, I think it is possible to make a competitive ship look nice, and the other way around, even though it's not completely optimal.
Right, so we have electrobolters and point defense. That is honestly a nasty combination. Electrobolters are mainly for uh, for removing power from enemy shields and parts. They don't actually do much physical damage. And though point defense has decent physical damage, it needs to be at close range to actually focus fire very well. That's true, Saris.
Yeah, Saris just made an excellent point in chat. So we can probably expect to see both bolters and point defense so that um, shields don't immediately shut down each other's ships. But whichever, I feel that no matter what they build, the match that will follow will take a long time because both of those weapons are very, very low damage output.
Agreed. They're also both very power hungry, so it's going to be interesting to see how they try to power it with while still keeping some good defense. Point defense especially runs out in what, like 10 seconds? Welcome back. Alright, so Cool Roku has started with a large reactor and some moving walkways. He's going for a very wide design. I mean, certainly wide designs are going to be good here, but I'm not sure he'll have enough budget to back that up.
Ultimately, it looks pretty similar to the ship that he built for his first showing, just a wall of weapons. And here, where
Your mic is completely dead. Yeah. Once one of these ships has a control room, I'm gonna teleport them away from each other because they're getting really close. They're nearly overlapping.
Cool Roko's ship is looking quite similar to the one he built for his first showing, just a wall of weapons, which I suppose makes sense, considering that if you have a low damage output weapon, you're going to actually put some onto the.
Now the question is, are they both going to remember to actually set their point defense to attack? By default, point defense only defends.
Well, that's a setting that is easily fixable right in the middle of a match.
Just call him Rick.
Is that
Roko's going for
Cool
a
Roku's
very
going?
similar thruster layout. It's interesting. Yeah. Certainly going for the same general approach. It's a lot of crew. I don't think he needs nearly that many.
And all on one side of his ship.
Yeah, if he doesn't fix his symmetry, I'm gonna be very upset. We might just disqualify him for having his ship look too bad.
It appears that Nug has actually finished his ship. He is 500,000 exactly.
And I'm teleporting it to the right. I even used the paint card for the extra swag.
How much time do we have left, Saris? I would advise Cool Rocco that you add a control room.
I'd advise Rick, remember fire extinguishers.
Just gotta put a control room somewhere. Yeah.
Right, so looks like Rick has gone for a much more all-around design. He's much more maneuverable than Cool Roku, whereas Cool Roku has gone for just sheer DPS.
Like he does. That's a very Cool Rocco thing.
Indeed. He'll need to be careful because Rick is maneuverable enough. If Rick gets around to Cool Roku's back and rams, there's not a thing he can do about it. He's just dead at that point.
Nug even went to the trouble of loading a paint scheme.
I think Rick is the unofficial winner here just because of the paint. They're both taking a really long time to boot, actually. Yeah. For anyone interested in competitive building, don't use the auto door system. It can do really dumb stuff. What Rick is
Normally
referring
don't.
to is at the very back of his ship, the crew have a not optimal path from the reactor to the engine rooms. It is a very fast ship. As I predicted, Rick is trying to get around to Kuroko's side.
Oh, it's beautiful. Look at all the shots.
So Rick's shields are going down. He needs to be careful. Point defense also have very low part health. In a second here, he's going to start losing weapons. For having so much agility, he's not using any of it.
I don't know about agility. Straight up speed, yes. But he can't strafe with that kind of setup.
You can. He has 3 of his 5 modules dedicated to strafe. Unless he's really unbalanced. However, at this point his shields have recharged. He needs to not be taking more hits like that, though. It looks like he just lost pretty much all of his remaining weapons. At this point, it might be good to actually try to sumo Cool Roku out of the arena because he's so slow.
Is it possible to focus fire using offensive PDs? Because that could have solved Nug's problems, and also Rocco's for that matter. Focus fire, offensive PDs, because neither player was targeting their weapons.
It looks like Rick tried to take advantage of the situation and get behind Cool Roku, but didn't quite make it. Now he's using his boost to push Cool Roku out of the ring.
This is the major downside of boost, the downtime following the actual boost itself, and the draining of energy in the thruster.
Yeah, if Rick hadn't have boosted away there, he probably would have gotten behind him. A lot of missed opportunities so far.
Well, there's not much that Rick can do at this point.
He still has a chance if he brings it down to Ring of Death, Rock, Paper, Scissors. But if he takes too much more damage from Cool Roku here, that won't matter. The one advantage he has over Cool Roku for the Ring of Death is he has 3 reactors instead of just 1.
Yeah, more chances to walk away with one not getting destroyed by the random damage. But that incoming PD fire, oh, that's really not serving him.
Yeah, especially with the Ring of Death damage, he's just getting shredded at this point.
One reactor down. I think this is going to go to Cool Roku.
I agree. All right.
A
Good game.
90% damage threshold. Or is it 20%?
Pretty sure it's 90.
The game ended with Rick at 20% health.
All right, so
75% destruction.
the next match is Exocade versus Orb. That'll be interesting. Orb is very out of practice, but at the same time, I'd say he has just as much skill as Exocade.
Exocade is another one of the players who was given a bye along with One Eye.
So small lasers and nukes, that's another weird combination. They actually do have some sort of synergy because they're both short range. It's not going to be like electrobolts and railguns where one has a vastly different range than the other. However, both are hard to protect and power well at the same time.
Well, small lasers are pretty manageable to do both, but nukes, as we saw with their other showing earlier in the tournament, are finicky. You have to dedicate a lot to actually keep them safe.
Yeah. Excuse me. In the history of competitive, the only times where nukes have ever really been used is when they are involved in exploits. I don't think they've ever been viable for regular competitive play as they were intended. Alright, so Xcade has started with a medium reactor and a couple engine rooms with a boost. They're both kind of building slowly, to be honest.
Orb has a ring of thrusters surrounding his nuke factory now. Ooh,
I'm not quite sure what he's going for there.
some kind of fast kiting build, I would suspect.
He needs to be careful because nukes do not have a 360-degree firing radius. I'm pretty sure it's 270. So it's fine to mount them on the side, but not the back. Sounds like someone really wants to talk to Saris. Yeah, he's gonna have to really hurry up, otherwise he won't have really much of a ship. Alright, Exocade has started adding shielding. He hasn't put in any weapons yet. Oh, there he is. As I say that, he adds some small lasers. Yeah, somehow just ignoring the stream delay. Now what he did is he timed the stream delay earlier, so he could accurately predict when I was going to say something, and then uh, offset that. So going back to Exocade's ship, overall it looks kind of slow. There's a lot of dead space at the moment, not a lot of weapons or. He'll need to really hurry and add some firepower and nukes, otherwise he'll be disqualified. Doesn't have any nukes yet. I was about to type that. How dare you? You're talking about You're talking about reading personalities. This entire time, you've been typing exactly what I'm currently typing, just slightly faster.
Yeah, definitely on the
It's like, he's gonna have some trouble with the nukes, though. They'll fire once, and that's basically it. The factories are very far from the launchers.
So the middle field does not have a corridor for Orb's ship, so it cannot be accessed by the crew.
Exicade has a somewhat solid ship. It's a decent ship overall, but it could have used some more firepower.
Keeping time, I would see it end so suddenly, and both actually are quite far under budget.
I think they were just building slowly, both ran out of time.
Orb reset his build? Certainly, space filling corridor has been used.
Well, the reason I think this is a solid design is simply the budget. This would never be competitive in a normal tournament, but for such a tight time limit, this is pretty decent. So they're also very accurate, which makes focus fire an even bigger advantage.
They need to fire at least one nuke. I don't think that's going to happen for either player.
That's true.
Yeah,
Highly
unfortunately,
explosive laser walls.
yes. Unfortunately, Orb just included his factory and launcher as the nuke tax, and Exicade is far undercrewed, so he can't actually spare the crew to fill up his launchers. That's
Exicade needs to be careful with his piloting. He keeps showing Orb his back, and he's slowly losing thrust as a result. Like that right there. He's actually getting close to losing his control room. Orb is doing a great job of piloting. You know, I think what's going wrong with Exicade is he's toggling his boost so much to try to get away. It's eating up all of his power, So none of his weapons are actually firing.
Personally, I think the spirit of this tournament is to make players build very quickly in unpredictable ways, forcing them to use certain weapons instead of everybody building cannon walls. So, Execade automatically winning just because he fires one nuke doesn't seem right to me.
Speaking of which, he does have that left nuke armed. It's not firing for some reason.
It might not be pointed directly at something. The nuke would be pretty devastating if it helped punch right through the center of Orb's ship because that shield is unpowered.
Also worth noting. Oh,
Oh,
that hurts.
it did as much damage to Execade, or even more than it did to Orb. That was dangerous.
Yeah, nukes and mines, when they blow up, they ignore friendly fire rules. They always hit you too. And I think Execade simply forgot that.
It might be due to crew priorities. Because he's so undercrewed, he has been continuously powering his engines and nothing else.
Based off of current health, Orb wins the rock, paper, scissors.
The Ring of Death race.
Yeah, he's at around 2/3, whereas Execade is a little below half. Oh, that did
There you have
hurt
the
a
nuke
lot.
launcher. Yeah, the collateral damage on that nuke launcher took out most of Orb's ship.
Yeah, as long as Orb retreats to the center of the map, he should win. But he's still playing aggressively. That's dangerous. Oh,
I think Orb actually took so much damage from that because the side that was destroyed was the side that contained Orb's nuke launcher. Ah,
and
and there
Orb
it is.
wins.
Orb wins. Good game. And a
Good
good
game
effort from
indeed.
Execade.
That was a very interesting match.
So Execade said he fired a nuke. Um, I think this is going to come down to how much we want to follow the letter of the law versus the spirit of the law. Giving Execade the win even though he lost because he fired off a nuke.
Yeah, that's up to
I
Saris. Since this is a prototype tournament, I guess the rules are somewhat fluid, but
put another victory under your belt, Saris.
well, that wouldn't be very nice. Actually, we could maybe do a vote. You could post it in tournament announcements.
I mean, I think Orb won.
Let's ask them first. Well, while this is all being sorted out, the next match is KWH versus Salif. Right, so regarding this weapon combination, it's kind of interesting. Large cannons they have a very high DPS, but they're slow, heavy, inaccurate, and very ammo hungry. Point defense, for the first time, actually will make a difference for defense. This might be the first time we see a defensive weapon, because point defense can shoot down large cannon shells even though it takes a lot of hits. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not ready. Alright, so here we are. So KWH has started with some large cannons on the front. Looks like he's going for just a big wall.
In the light of the last match, do try to use the both of the weapon systems as much as possible. The two of you players.
Though admittedly, certain weapon combinations are simply not viable.
Plus, having to fit a functional nuke. Oh, that's an interesting little challenge.
Alright, this looks like a pretty solid wall so far from KWH.
Have we seen KW?
Oh, Saris, you forgot to update the bracket. And I wanted to mention earlier, I've noticed that a lot of competitive players are still using small reactors here. It's an interesting choice. Normally, for a ship, even around this price range, you'll want to use medium or even large reactors, because they're by far the most cost effective. But they also take longer to balance out to make sure that you are drawing enough power, you're not drawing too much. So it's better to simply use small reactors. Yeah. Interesting choice by KWH. He has 3 control rooms, one for each reactor. That makes him kind of expensive, but it'll also make him harder to kill if part of his ship is blown up.
I'm hoping to see something like a pair of wings that will include more small reactors and P from both of these players, just so that they actually see some use instead of them being slapped on the back of a ship. Though that is still a decent use for PDs in this case. In case you try to turn and run away from your opponent, the PDs can try to cover your rear as you retreat.
Well, but at the same time, large cannon shells are so slow, I'm not sure point defense would really make a difference.
It could work.
If large cannon shells had a lower health, I'd agree, but it takes so long for point defense to destroy one cannon shell, I'm not sure it'd really make a difference.
Yeah, personally, I disagree with that definition of necessary, but well. It would probably benefit Salif to use mirror mode while adding doors. It would speed things along.
Oh, 45 minutes left, so I guess there's some bonus time for this match. We're gonna be here for a while.
We appreciate what you're doing, Saris.
Indeed, we're just messing around. Okay, you know I'm messing around. You're just trying to anger me at this point.
Don't forget shield doors around your shields.
You know, you've pulled that card so many times, it doesn't even work anymore. Anyway, Exocade has his ship mostly done, looks like.
He has forgotten doors around half of his shields. That will be a big weakness in the upcoming match.
Exocade? He has proper access.
Oh, I was looking at KWH. My bad.
Wait, did I say Exocade?
You did.
I need more coffee. Pardon me. This stream is now sponsored by Monster Energy. I mean, that one triangle, you can't use mirror mode on a triangle. Looks like he's suffering from no door syndrome a little. He doesn't have doors connecting to about half of his crew bunks.
Oh goodness, that's true. Both of these players. Oh,
Oh,
Salif. What? Did you
forfeits.
forfeit? No control room? No control room. Oh, is this a forfeit from Salif's?
Either a forfeit or an automatic lose. That's unfortunate. Really, so far we've seen almost as many instant losses and disqualifications than we have actual matches.
I think it's just a matter of people getting used to this tournament format. It's very, very unusual.
Alright, so we are on to the semifinals. This first match is Mr. Respect versus Cool Roku.
We know more or less the shape that Cool Roku's ship is going to take.
More than likely.
From Mr. Respect, yes.
That'll be interesting. Ions and rails are both fixed weapons, so there won't really be much focus fire unless we see fanning. and you don't want to fan with ions.
You can fan with ions as long as you do it slowly, because prisms do have a turning speed that you can not exceed.
Problem is prisms either have to, they pretty much have to be fixed in order to protect them. You can't have a prism with a decent turning radius and have it shielded well.
That is very true. It'll be interesting to see how these two players approach it. And I don't think that ions and rails will fit Cool Rocco's building style very well, which is to say, a wall of weapons.
Yeah. I suspect he'll try to go for like a wall of ions or something that used to be a thing.
Yeah, I remember those days. They were fun.
Also, a rail wall wouldn't be bad, but again, that doesn't really match his building style.
Respect has already added a couple of tractor beams to his ship design. He is going to be going with a classic rail fan setup.
It's like a tractor beam rail. If you if you do have prisms set to aim, ions can be devastating against railguns because railguns are hard to. The best way to protect them is with minimal shielding and a long barrel, because most weapons can't really aim down the barrel. Ions are the big exception.
Both players have to use both weapons, so do need to add ions in somewhere. The whole secondary and primary weapon thing. Okay. That part of the rules isn't very clear. I read the forum post, but that part didn't jump out at me.
Alright, so looks like KWH is going for a rather long barrel. Not sure how he's planning on powering those shields. I think this is the first time that we're going to see some big diversity in ship types. KWH is mainly focusing on railguns and tractor beams, whereas Cool Roku is going for an ion core. KWH is approaching the budget, though he needs to be careful. Or maybe the tractor beams. It's like he's overcompensating for previous people's matches. He has what looks to me like way too many crew. Well, I
What,
guess it's
Mr.
a decent
Respects?
amount of crew, but it's not balanced around the ship.
I think Mr. Respects has an alright amount of crew to start with.
Looks like Cool Roku is going with a very inefficient ion core design.
Rocco largely stopped playing before the addition of the ion prism, so he might not be familiar with the binary tree construction that you need to make a good ion core. But even an inefficient one like this can still put out some good damage.
I've just been informed that I'm again saying the wrong person. Cool Roku's probably going to get disqualified here. He has 30 seconds to add a working railgun, and he's also about to be over budget. So really, as long as Mr. Respect has a valid design, he'll win. Oh, he did. Cool Roku is attempting to add a rail, which would normally be a disqualification.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, Rocco just straight up ran out of time without adding even the parts until. All right, yeah, if both players would get disqualified, we give them 30 seconds, I suppose, to try and fix their stuff. Trying to not swear on stream. Oh, goodness. Respect is saying that he wasn't over budget. Oh, it's 900 over. Just gotta trim off a few armor blocks here and there. All right, Mr. Respect's ship is now legal. Yeah, he trimmed off some armor. He just needs to add some railguns real quick. Oh, he might not know how railguns actually work. Was he around when they were added to the game? I thought he still was.
It looks like he is going to get it at least so it can fire, but it will run into his armor there.
Yes, it
And he
will.
is
But
still over
still
budget. Right, there he goes. I do feel even if we play this match through, he'll still lose because his prisms are not only inefficient, but they're actually not set to aim properly, so they're going to run into his own ship as soon as either player turns.
So they're not linked together, you mean?
Not only are they not linked together, but the front one is not set to face forward.
Luckily, that's the kind of thing that can be fixed in the middle of the game.
If he knows how.
But yeah, normally ion prisms will always turn to face your target. So unless you link the prisms together, then they'll just turn and fire into your own ship. It won't damage your own ship, but you also won't be projecting damage outside either.
Also because prisms turn so slowly, if you do end up having them turned improperly, it can take a really long time for them to get back to normal, even if you fix it mid-game.
Only three shields actually on Mr. Respect because one of them is blocked by armor instead of connected by a corridor. A slight mistake there.
This is probably going to be a really long match. Neither ship has the firepower to get through the other's shielding very efficiently.
But the shielding on Mr. Respect is very, very far away from its reactor, so they will recharge super slowly, and the beam goes right through to the reactor. There it is. Cool.
Looks like Mr. Respect didn't have enough central armor. Good game.
Yeah. A lot of the armor that was put on the side of Mr. Respect's ship probably would have been put to better use in the center, like you were saying. Why didn't the TB aim? Ugh, I do not know. I do not use TBs on my own ships, so I'm not very experienced with them.
So the other round in the semifinals is Orb versus KWH. I actually got those names correct this time.
It's interesting to me that old tournament favorites like One Eye and Execate have both been knocked out. So we might get very, very classic here if Orb manages to take away a victory from KWH, because then it will be Orb versus Cool Roku. Back in the days of the unofficial Cosmotier Clash League.
Bless you. Again, do you want to reroll? Almost wish I had joined the tournament now.
There is no way I would be able to handle the anxiety of trying to build a functioning 500k ship in 5 minutes. Yeah, Shade's laser triangle was probably the most complete ship.
Rerolling take 3. And Saris somehow manually picks lasers and EMPs again. So this is going to be the first appearance of Flak. Flak is a beautiful defensive weapon. It can shoot down not only physical projectiles like cannons, but somehow, I don't know how this actually works as far as physics goes, but it can shoot down laser and electrobolts as well.
As long as we're talking about physics, then technically lasers should travel instantly, much like ions. But, as
Well,
Walt said, it's not always necessary to do things real. We are playing in a 2D space simulator, after all.
to be fair, for a 2D space simulator, it has pretty filled out lore. The way I always imagined it is the flak like dispels the energy in all directions. So, judging just by the weapons alone, we're probably going to be seeing much more classic designs here. Let's see, who is this? This is KWH. Looks like he's going more for flak rather than lasers. Flak can shoot offensively, but it's not the best. Its only real advantage for attacking is it can go slightly through shields. But overall, its DPS is so low it's rarely viable.
A lot of the other tournaments had some crazy logistical problems with players not showing up and so on. So this is pretty nice, actually. It's certainly an interesting setup, having a flank in the center, because most
Oh,
designs will see it be used in the wings of the ship.
Orb has disconnected. Are we doing 2 disconnects or 1?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're
All right.
redoing disconnects.
Just so everyone is on the same page, the rules we use for disconnects is you are allowed to disconnect up to 2 times without an explanation. Because connection issues do occur, that just happens. But anything more it's simply not enjoyable for any of the players or any of the viewers, so it's considered an automatic loss.
I lost the tournament match. I lost a tournament match to Slow King because of exactly that. Yeah,
So
he
it looks like
disconnected 5 seconds away from losing in a very convincing way, but he convinced the tournament hosts to let him redo it anyways.
that's unfortunate.
It was. So that's why I make a stink about the spirit of the law, so to speak, rather than the letter. So because Orb, that was an accidental disconnect, I'm pretty sure, because Orb's not in the habit of cheating. Obviously, it was good to let him come back and build again.
And I do agree with the whole letter of the law thing. If you go strictly by the letter of the law, you're always going to find loopholes somewhere. Looks like KWH already is done. He might have some issues, though. His reactors and control rooms aren't particularly protected.
He has invested a lot in those flat cannons in order to try and protect himself, but his thrust, his maneuverability has suffered for it. So we're going to have to see how that shakes out.
At the same time, the 6 flak batteries is going to be plenty to pretty much hard counter Orb's lasers unless he adds a lot more. Yet in the previous matches we've seen, Orb is pretty good at piloting, even with the weird thrust layout.
It
There's
appears
some
that, yeah, you'll be done. Okay.
there's some top tier paint from Saris. You, my friend, need to use folders. Then use better folders. Fair
I
enough.
can I can cast by myself. I'm okay with that.
Well, but Saris isn't going to kick me, because if he does, then he'll have to talk more, and he doesn't want to do that. I say that at the risk of getting kicked, but he knows it's true.
It appears that Orb has become another victim of the dreaded mirror line, which is to say, he wasn't using it. So one half of his ship is quite undercrewed, and also is lacking doors.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I'm not sure. It does look like part of this was hastily built. Yeah, it might have actually given KWH a little extra time compared to Orb. They're too afraid of each other. Alright, KWH is moving, but he's gonna take a really long time to get anywhere. Well, for having so little thrust, he's moving decently fast.
But he can only move decently fast in one direction.
This is true. At least he has his thrusters on the side, so he has a little more torque.
Orb 4, he was despairing over the loss of his doors and several of his major systems.
Yeah. Again, very unfortunate. That would have been another interesting match.
I think let him add doors so that it's a fair match. Well,
Uh, we could do another vote.
personally, I think this one is it was an honest oversight by Orb, which is something that we've let slide for several other matches for several other players who have built suboptimal ships, forgotten doors, so on and so forth. So I would say KWH has it.
Might just be offline. Well, either way, we are now into the final round with most likely KWH versus Cool Roku. What are our weapons?
Let me take a quick look at the image that shows the available weapons.
Yeah. Where did that go? Link. Again, you're doing exactly what I'm doing, but slightly faster. That's true.
So we've seen every weapon now in one combination or another.
Do you want to go for a common weapon or uncommon?
I think I would like to see missile launchers and railguns. That would be my vote.
I'd say that sounds interesting. I don't think I've really seen a good combination of missiles and rails before. If we ever do this again, we should have community votes.
So by now, both of these players have the lessons learned from all the rest of the tournament. Don't forget doors, don't forget command rooms, and don't go over ambitious on your weapons. Yeah, don't forget the secondary weapon. And don't go over ambitious on weapons in general because you still need armor.
Alright, so KWH has started with pretty basic missile module setup. Alright, so KWH is going for what looks to be a kind of standard missile barge with a rail down the center. It looks rather fragile though. I am not quite sure what Cool Roku is going for though. Unless he's building it like horizontally.
Alright. I stepped up for a second, now I'm back. What's going on? The one on the right must be Cool Rocco. And on the left,
But you can figure it out by looking at the cursor colors and the names at the top left.
yes. I was about
So
to say that KWH's ship was looking perilously unarmored, but he's fixing that right now.
I was about to mention that. Even then,
Meanwhile,
his railgun is a little bit exposed. And that railgun, once it's destroyed, there's a pretty clear shot to his reactor. He needs to be careful.
might not be that much of a danger in this match because Cool Rocco's ship has a mostly a tax railgun from what it looks like, and mostly focusing on missile launchers. Though I'm kind of wondering where his thrust is for Cool Rocco. Not to mention a control room.
That looks like
Just
a
1,000
looks like a
over
pretty
for KWH.
yeah.
Yeah.
Looks pretty solid, but again, uh he looks kind of vulnerable from the back right now. If his thrusters get hit from the side, he'll be pretty crippled as far as turning goes. And his control room is also really close to the edge of the ship.
That is a danger, yes. Especially if missiles curl around the back of his ship.
Cool Roku is completely forfeiting that rail from ever doing anything. I think he still needs to have it powered though, so it can at least fire.
No, clearly it's a surprise rail. Once the armor on the back is broken, bam.
Yes, because internal weapons are so powerful in this game.
Clearly, yes.
It looks like he is trying to make it fire. A
Nope.
little? No. That's a lot of armor. All right. For all of the beans. It's like someone put a paint card on there too. Right, so again, overall, KWH's ship looks pretty solid. It might die to missiles kind of quickly. Meanwhile, Cool Roku, he's gonna have some serious issues here. His only reactor is directly exposed to the outside. So as long as KWH can get around. Yeah, and that's also a disqualification. Oh, he can't fire it. There's no power.
Missiles are
So,
high on crew requirement, so yeah, you might not have full efficiency there.
first missiles have been fired, and it looks like those missiles from KWH are immediately going to arc around and hit that reactor. No surprise that he's aiming for it. And there it goes. Boom. As long as he doesn't die to zombie missiles, basically, he wins.
Those missiles that are still firing.
I mean, that's true.
Rocco had an idea of a one-sided missile barge, but it did not have nearly enough thrust to actually make that dream come true. Oh my god. Rocco takes it anyways.
Well, but
Because
he's disqualified because no railgun.
I, I, uh, uh, I mean, we did let Orb forward despite not firing a nuke. He did have a tax nuke, and well, I I have uh, I have to say for the sake of consistency, Rocco shouldn't be disqualified for not firing a rail shot. He did, after all, waste the credits on a useless rail. That being said, dang it.
We might want to do another vote. All right.
It's so so do we do a rematch? Like what's the verdict then? Yeah, tournament chat says vote.
Uh, Tournament chat says vote about 30 times.
Yeah, I have to vote too. Ah, because I voted for Orb to go through despite the rules. I have to vote for Cool Roku to go through despite the rules.
I am gonna disagree. I think that even kind of partially ignoring that, the idea here is to incorporate both weapons into the design, which KWH did successfully. Whereas Cool Roku, I mean, it's at least with the other tax weapons, they can at least fire to some degree. That railgun has zero purpose.
But so did the nuke launcher that Orb featured on his ship against Exocade.
I remember correctly that at least had like power.
No, it didn't. No corridors, no power, nothing.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Well,
I
either
have to
way,
vote for Rocco.
the vote is currently 1-11 in favor of
Yeah,
KWH.
I know. I'm just standing on principle here.
And I respect that, but I think the winner is quite clear.
This does.
be quite honest,
That is also true, yeah.
I think this is all really just an issue of this tournament type being brand new. Not everything is ironed out. You place the same one twice.
Put them all together. Put them all together. Take a screenshot and then Barbarian. Let us show the world the spontaneity of the Cosmotier community.
Should I add paint cards? Right. Well, again, judging by the vote, it looks like KWH has won. Good game to everyone that played. Everyone did a great job for such a small time limit. And congratulations to KWH for winning his first tournament. I think this is only his second or third tournament that he's been in, so that's pretty impressive. Rick is... Oh, never mind. He was upset that you didn't use his ship, but now, now you are. Fair enough. Well, I'd say that was a pretty interesting tournament. Somewhat successful. I feel once the rules are nailed down a little more, it'll be a lot more enjoyable for everyone. Sure, why not?
Oh, this is chaos. Look at this. Did we want to do a caster exhibition match following this, as is our custom?
I didn't know that was a thing.
Alrighty. Wait, I don't want to build something. I was just going to spawn in something 500k. I can't.
See,
Oh
that's
god,
cheating.
I have enough stress. I have enough stress in my life. I don't want to have to build a ship in 5 minutes.
It's only 5 minutes. What could possibly go wrong?
Everything can go wrong.
Will a 5 minute timer physically affect you in any way?
Mentally, it will affect me mentally.
Hmm.
Building a ship with a timer.
I'd be down to a caster match if anyone wants to do that also. Alright. I guess Piraeus picks the weapons then.
Yeah, I can keep track of the time.
It's clear weapon projectiles also.
Salis is saying if I say missiles and rails again, that would be ridiculous. No, we just did that one. Deciding on weapons. Let us do.
How about rails and missiles?
Just swap primary, secondary. Now let's do small cannons and small lasers. Wait, no, those are two primary weapons. Do you much care about primary, secondary weapons at this point?
It's fine.
Yeah, use both.
We get seeds. Oh, there they are. You're on the left. Alright.
You just created some seeds. All right, so now you're the one with the camera, so I won't be able. I will just keep an eye on Captain's ship and relay what it is for the audience.
Alright, I'm ready. Alright, go ahead and count us down.
Okay. Oh, did you just start your own clock? Or do you have do you have your own timer going, Saris? Yeah.
No.
Start.
Okay.
Use small cannons and small lasers.
I was starting to get concerned. With how long it was going to take to start.
I was slightly confused about my role in all this. One, I made an excellent point here, where the tournament, because the rules were so fluid and we treated them fluidly, that saying that there is a tournament winner is not good. We could treat this as an unofficial tournament, a test run of this format, I would say. Also,
Yeah.
it's 4 minutes remaining.
As long as everyone had fun, I think it's a success.
3 minutes left, guys. Saris, you're going for a pretty classic setup from what I know of you, making your structure struts to actually hold your modules together. I imagine I'll be I imagine I'll be seeing some. Wait, that's redstone?
I'm on the right.
Oh, I'll be fucked. But oh, oops! I forgot I was on stream. Yep, I shouldn't say words like that.
Yeah, this is supposed to be child friendly.
Okay, my bad. I guess that goes to show that the meta build is it can get pretty samey. You know, I've seen this ship design from a lot of different players. I know over on Saris' side of things. Okay, not structure struts, holding it all together, but actually a single central large reactor with corridors and such. 1 minute 40.
And my heart is pounding, and I don't even care who wins.
Yeah, see, like this is where I'm at right now.
There's just something inherently stressful about being on a time limit. Oh, I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
Yeah, see, this is why I didn't want to take part in this.
Oh, I thought you called time, and I'm like, what?
No, no, no. It's 1 minute 10 seconds.
Oh, I just forgot my control rooms. That's important. Why do I always do that?
We just watched a whole tournament of people making these mistakes. Don't make them too.
Hey, at least I'm using control door.
.45 seconds.
I think I'm mostly done at this point. So just touch it.
Yeah, both of you guys are near the limit of your budget. You're at 30 seconds. One I was saying that for some reason he thought it had become official, which is fair because Saris had said he was trying to get Walt to make it official. You know, have it be announced when you open up the game, but not really. It didn't really. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hands off the keyboards, fellas.
Hands are off the keyboard, even though I'm still in build mode.
And y'all put on fucking paint. You are so extra. All right, let me. Are you gonna save the ship, Saris, in the next out?
I'll save my. Yep.
I don't know. I wasn't put in the observer section, so I'm just gonna take in that 500k that I wanted to load in, which isn't fair actually. No, I shouldn't do that.
Well, if you do, at least let us fight first.
All right.
Best of luck to you. See, it's courteous to return the favor.
That's maybe I should have picked something other than cannons because it would have made you guys build, you know, not cannon wall avoider things. Thank you. I was coming back and thinking, well, the missile barges that I liked to make got completely messed up with the changes to missile factories. So, what can I do? What can I do? Small ship. That's kind of the opposite of what I did. That little armor spike that you put on there, Saris, actually doing a bit of work to protect your reactor.
You almost fell for my trap, but I was trying to get around to your side. Good game. I spent way too much on small reactors and control rooms. Yeah, because paint costs so much.
Both
Yeah,
of you
the whole
guys hit
20
your budget
seconds.
with about a minute left to go.
Agreed.
You approached too quickly.
I think it might be good for players to actually pull up like a little checklist just to double check that they have basic things like working weapon A, working weapon B, control room, reactor, doors, all that.
Come on, armor, don't fail me now.
And I thought I used a lot of armor.
My ships are always chonk.
Ironically, two of my best ships are like half armor or more. It looks like Saris is actually getting through that frontal plow of Piraeus. Cannons are starting to pierce through. Looks like there's a bit of extra armor before they can hit the reactor. But if one pierces and starts a fire, it'll hurt pretty badly.
Unfortunately, the shrinking ring of death is actually going to win Saris the game because of the way my ship is made. Yeah, the thrusters are the first to go, so he'll be able to take his leave whenever he wants.
Or he could just risk staying and go for the control room, but
There's not much of
looks
a
like,
point in that.
yeah, looks like he's fleeing. I don't think he's on fire. He has so
No, I
much
have.
armor, your cannons never got a chance. Oh, except there's that. You never really think about how the amount of fire extinguishers can be important.
Hey, good game.
Good game, everyone. Thank you, Piraeus, for co-casting. Thank you, Saris, for hosting this entire tournament.
Yes, indeed.
And all right, adios.
Everybody, goodbye.